Hey everyone, this is Ultra Runner. Welcome back to the channel. So I've been going through my collection and doing some modifications to it. You guys know if you've seen any of my collection tours, I typically have my transformer section posed up some kind of way. Typically it's not just vanilla pose. They're usually standing, posed in some way, and of course I've got plenty of room. So I decided to come in here as I'm picking up more figures, and really as more are coming in, trying to figure out how I make this all work. If I'm going to keep some of them, if I'm going to have some, I don't know about the ones I'm saying keep, or like the non-SS86, because as I've stated before, I'm an SS86 completionist, so I will have all those, and I'm just trying to make sure I have room for everything I have right now, because pretty much everything I have right now is what I really want to have. So like the War for Cybertron pieces here, the Jetfire, the Tetrajets. Love those guys. You know, I'm so glad that they reissued Skywarp because he was crazy insane. Same thing with the Nemesis. Nemesis was, you know, had gotten up there crazy high. I mean, granted, even when they re-released her, she did come back more expensive, but you know, it still was better than Skywarp prices. And so as I've been going through receiving some of the new ones today, so or this week. So I picked up the Insecticons, they came in, and Prowl came in. So I was trying to decide, okay, how I'm gonna redo my display, and then, you know, what I want it to look like. And so I was thinking about this a few days ago, so I ordered my first KO, which was the AS Toys. I think they call them the General, but it's the SS86 knockoff Optimus Prime. So I got him because I wanted to have eventually this posing this way. So I've been playing with it, seeing how I wanted to do. Basically have the SS86, the actual version, you know, kind of boosting off, which they gave us that great little display with the rockets, and then have Optimus starting his little flip. So I didn't want to buy a whole nother SS86 because it didn't come, I didn't want the cab, and I didn't want the battle damage because of course he wasn't battle damage when he was in this particular spot. So I looked online and I found one on eBay from a seller who was selling a few of them, and I bought this for 26 bucks. And I can tell you, with the exception of a few things that are just probably the results of a KO, this was actually pretty awesome. I mean, like you can see right here, this is kind of flappy. It's not locked into place. I think the inside of his chest is not. If I can open it up without having them fall, is red instead of gray. The matrix doesn't, you know, he doesn't come with a matrix. This gun is actually SS86 gun, but that blast effect is from the knockoff, because the knockoff blaster came with a blast effect that didn't fit it. But I mean, I guess that's part of a KO. Now this head sculpt, I think I've mentioned this before. This head sculpt I had on my Skybound Optimus, but this is the one that came with the DNA kit, and it is incredible. So I decided to put it on my clean Optimus because that is the better looking of the two. So versus having on the battle damage, because the reason I actually bought the kit and put them on the battle damage Prime, because to me, not to me, just for a fact, when Prime got this form, he was not in the best of shape. So really my strategy was, okay, am I going to buy duplicates and duplicates of the SS86 official line to flush out my display the way I want it, because I eventually want to have not necessarily duplicate of everything, but I probably will to some of the figures or some of the characters, but also just like, what am I going to do as far as how I want the story to look. And so, you know, you can see some duplicates here, but those are just battle damage versus non-battle damage for the Brawn, Ratchet, Ironhide, and Prowl. Now that we finally got the clean Prowl in. Now we're just waiting on the dead Wheeljack and the dead Windcharger. And right here is where my break is. This goes into just G1 stuff that I like. The one Age of the Primes piece, or one of the two, of course, the Power Utilize Age of the Primes. And then over here, Wardon, episode 1, and then the Arc. So the Arc starts my collection, and on the other side, the Nemesis starts my collection. So just trying to get in here and figure out, okay, am I going to do scenes? Am I going to do special poses, maybe iconic poses from the movie, iconic poses from different areas. So like right here, I've got Devastator kind of like in this about the punch mode, position where he's swinging. Still work on it. He doesn't have as much flexibility in the joints that I like, because he really gets to 90, and that's about it for his arms. But outside of that, it's not too bad. And then as far as where I'm gonna have them all on the timeline, one of the things I definitely want to do is have, once Cyclonus gets in, I'm probably gonna pick up 2 of him just because, that's just what it is, and probably have 1 in robot mode and then 1 in alt mode, because of course when they first formatted, or Unicron first reformatted these 2 guys, but technically this whole group, there was multiple Cyclonuses. It was 2 of them. So I'm gonna have 1 in robot mode, which is gonna be my Skywarp, because for me, just like Frank Dilly said, or Frank Dilly said, not said Dilly, Skywarp was actually Unicron. I mean, Skywarp was actually Cyclonus, but but that was how it was written, and then storyboarding, and then by the time the animation was done, it was a little unclear, and Hasbro was super tongue-in-cheek, when they released Skywarp, to basically not show who he was like they did with Thundercracker. But anyway, that's just kind of how it is. So I'm gonna actually have those, and what my plan is to have those guys behind him, and hopefully maybe they'll do a KO reformatted version of Skywarp and Thundercracker. So when I'll have Cyclonus here, and then Scourge there, and then behind him will be Thundercracker, and behind Cyclonus would be Skywarp. And then same thing for here for Megatron. So eventually I'm going to take the battle damage Megatron here, this guy here, and put him behind here. So it's almost like a transition from them going from the battle damage versions into the reformatted versions as Heralds of Unicron. So, and of course Unicron there, got Hot Rod there, and then from there, I was just trying to figure out, I got tons of space. I think I'm actually gonna put some stuff up in the air, so I'm thinking about probably taking the Seekers here, and then getting another set, and then having those on the wall up here. So, it's like they're flying. So something to like this degree here, and that just to kind of, 1, give it a little more dynamism to the display, but 2, also because a lot of displays, unfortunately, you might not have the room to go high and actually do stuff like that. But from my original intent of me doing my collection in here was, I wanted it to look almost like a diorama scene with different aspects of the movie being displayed. Like here I've got Swoop on the flight stand, because having him on the ground is kind of odd because he's a flyer. So, this is, the scene when they're on Quinazon planet, and they're, Willie's with them and things like that. So, got the Junkions in fighting posing positions. This is my secondary cup and Hot Rod, and this is, basically, I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to actually put them with the Junkions here. Not Junkions, with the Sharkticons, and having them kind of rolling through the Sharkticons. Or if, what I've also been thinking about too, is taking Kranix and having Kranix like here, falling, and having the Sharkticons looking up toward him, basically like, oh hey, here comes our meal, because of course everybody wants to use Kranix for that, but or in some way with the Sharkticons. But that's kind of one of the things I thought about too, is having, how to not just have them up here, because like I say, none of mine are vanilla pose for the most part. I do have them pose in some type of action pose, and not just standing with their guns straight down, which I know a lot of collectors do, because you just run out of room. honestly, there's so many figures. This is every SS86 figure so far released, as you guys know. And so mine is, well, I guess Cyclonus hasn't come out yet. The new Clip Jumper is not, I haven't seen it out yet. I've got mine on pre-order through Big Bag Toy Store, so don't think I haven't that they've announced that's up for pre-order that I have not gotten in yet is the Starscream Target exclusive. We all know about that. I just made another video about Hasbro and their fake apology, or not really apology. And then Cyclonus, Blitzwing, and is that it? I think from Big Bad Toy Store is Cyclonus, Blitzwing, and Cliff Jumper. So yeah, just those three. But really, there's only 4 of so far that they've announced or released that I don't have yet. So, but yeah, so as these are coming in, and really as this line is wrapping up, what I'm trying to just figure out is like, what do I want this to look like? You know, how do I want it to pan out? And you know, I know a lot of you guys are doing this collecting too, with a lot of the lines, you pick it and choose it what you get. But how are you guys setting yourself up? Are you guys doing vanilla poses because because your room constriction? Do you like the vanilla poses just because they're robots? Are you doing multiple copies of it? Have you considered doing knockoffs so you can have them a cheaper version either to supplement your official releases, or are you doing knockoffs just because, hey, Hasbro's being Hasbro, and if the KO companies are going to give it to you, go ahead and take them. Like I said, I may do a couple more to flush out, a couple more KOs to flush out the display. I know typically this time of year you're having a lot of the big resets and things like that, so some of the figures start to get cheap. So I mean, honestly, if I can find a Skywarp for $28, there's no point in buying a KO because it's virtually the same price. But we'll see how it goes. But just wanted to kind of chat with you guys and see what you guys are doing, how your displays are coming along, or is there anything specific that you're trying to do to ensure that your display tells a story, or are you really just like, hey, it's a volume thing, let me get everything in here and get it put up and then we're good. But another part is like my centerpiece for my collection, of course, is the 01 Studio Cell, and so which is their version of Unicron. So everything pans out. So Decepticons go this way from Unicron. Storyline basically from, like I said again, from the Nemesis back, and then of course on this side is all Autobots. But I don't know, I'm thinking about mixing and maybe having intermingled scenes, with Decepticons and Autobots. Not really sure how I want that to look. I haven't really thought through it a whole lot since I've been trying to get it all squared away. But you guys have to let me know what you think in the comments below, about how everything's coming along so far. What you guys have from observations and just looking at my collection, and of course for your collection, let me know what you guys are doing. What are your ideas? What are your plans for how you're going to get everything displayed? How you want it to look? Is it are you telling a story? Do you have your good guys and your bad guys separated? Do you have your duplicates together? Are you doing KOs? Just let me know in the comments below. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Thanks so much. Have a good one. Later.